All right, so yeah, as we just said off podcast, Happy New Year.
Yeah, January 1st, 2022. Beautiful day. Hard to believe it's winter.
Yeah, so this kind of worked out weirdly well. So yeah, this will come out a few days into 2022, but we're recording January 1st. And yeah, I just like forgot. I was on the way here and everything was closed. I'm like, oh yeah, right, it's New Year's. Yeah, so usually, we go buy sushi or something at the our local one sushi place, but since everything was closed today, we just went and did a little hikey shit. Let's just go, whatever we got in this town. Let's go take a nice little outside jaunt. And that's actually, it just happened to turn out this way because there's just nothing open today. So we just went on a little woods hike. But it's perfectly appropriate to the weird show I'm going to show you this week. So I've got two shows. It's like what we were doing with comparing British to American.
And vice versa, yeah. Uh-huh.
Except this time it's a cartoon and a live action version of the same cartoon, but they're both just little 20-minute shows. They're not that long. But this is weird because I love this show. I really love it. But I am not at all confident that you're going to like this. You might think this is the most boring thing you've ever seen in your whole life. But it's an interesting phenomenon. So that's kind of why I wanted to show it to you, because it's just a weird thing that is literally only happening in Japan. The whole name of the phenomenon, it's like Japanese only. It's like, how do I describe this? So Japan always, they've got Tokyo and they've got all their crazy technological stuff, but they also have the countryside, and that's just how they are. They're kind of like the mix of the two things. They always have a distinct appreciation for nature. You can really feel it in all of their stuff, but even when I went and visited there, it's like, yeah, that's how everything feels. So they would always have these things in their cartoons, like just little moments. Like here's just the outside of the character's house, and it's a rainy day, and we just hang on it for a moment. And not like we do in our shows, where it's just to show, here's where the setting is, it's a rainy day, you need to know that for the story, let's go. Like they really hold on it for a long time, or like the sound of cicadas, or just stuff, just these nice little appreciate nature for a moment, little Bob Ross moments that they just put in their stuff. And I always liked that. And that has just built up and built up and built up more and more and more over the past 20 years until it's become its own genre. It's called Iyashikei. And Iyashikei basically means healing anime, is what Iyashikei anime means, or Iyashikei stories. And it's these shows, we joke about shows that are about nothing, like Seinfeld's about nothing or whatever. These shows are literally not about a plot. Like there are characters and stuff happens, but it's very minimal. And really you're just watching this show for the calming vibes. Like this is just supposed to, after a hard day of work and you're all stressed out, especially in Japan where you got this horrible work week or you just got to work your life away. And you just don't want drama and you don't want tension. You just want to feel calm. And they have shows about that, which if you didn't know that's what it was, it would drive you crazy because you're like, when are we getting to the fireworks factory? When is something going to happen in this goddamn show? But I think as long as you know, nothing is going to happen. That's not why we're here. We're here for those shots of nature and just calm, quiet niceness. And yes, that's where it's like, I don't know how you're going to like this because it might just be really boring. But when I found out about these shows, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is exactly what I've been looking for because I'm just, I've seen it all. I've seen every plot. Man versus nature, man versus man, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a fuck. It's not interesting by and large. Sometimes it's interesting, but most of the time it's like you're just empty drama. You're just treading the same material I've already seen. So when you get the TV show equivalent of going for a little hike, I'm all about it. I'll watch that. So this in particular, it's called Yuru Camp, which translates to laid back camp. And it's just about these girls who are obsessed with camping to like a ludicrous degree. All they care about is camping. They get part-time jobs to buy camping gear. And the show is just about them going camping. And that's it. But like, for instance, in Odell Park, where we were today, one time last summer, I was in one of the obscure corner parts of the park. And I was sitting on a fallen log and I was watching this show on my phone. So I'm in nature, but I'm watching a show. And I was like, I've laughed at something stupid that happened. And I looked up, and a deer was looking at me. And behind it was another deer. And they watched me for a while, and then they ambled off. And I'm like, how awesome is this? Like, technically, I'm watching TV. I'm just watching an anime on my phone. But I'm watching it outside in the woods, and a deer is here. It's perfect for that. Like, it's just, what show would be better to watch in the weird circumstances that I like to get myself into than a show like this? So, yeah, like I said, I don't know. I guess we'll just watch it and see if you like it or not.
Okay, Serenity Plus, it sounds like.
Yeah, because it's, I don't know. I can't say it might be boring. It is boring. But but if you know that's what it is, to me it's weirdly not boring. Like, because I find action shows boring. As soon as an action scene starts in a movie or a TV show, like, my brain just glazes over.
Yeah, me too. Especially the some of this crap that's out now. That's just action scene after action scene after act. There's no character. I mean, there's a little bit of character development, but not anything that you care about.
Yeah, it's always like a foregone conclusion, right? Like, even shows that I liked, like Buffy. The parts of Buffy I like are when the characters are talking and doing stuff. As soon as an action scene starts, part of my brain just clicks off, like, okay, we'll start paying attention again when they're done punching each other. But nothing important's going to happen, So that's what I find so weird about a show like this. Nothing important is happening ever. But when you just take that out of the equation, it just makes the little moments more interesting. But I could easily see someone saying they're not interesting, because they're not, but they are. It's really weird. And yeah, it's a Japan exclusive phenomenon. Oh yeah, so I was looking it up too. I was like, how come I never heard of this before? Where did this come from? And it's a little inconclusive, but when these types of stories first started appearing, it was mostly as short stories first, and then they bled their way into other media. They think it was around the time of the mid-90s when those sarin gas attacks happened in the Tokyo subways, because Japan's a stressful society anyway, but it is safe. Like, you just never feel in danger in Japan. Even just stuff like I was saying, how there's vending machines everywhere. Like, even on obscure roads, there'll be a vending machine because no one will fuck with it. Where that's just not the case even in Canada. In Canada, we're pretty cool, but if you put a vending machine on a obscure road.
Yeah, without security lights and all this kind of stuff around it, somebody's going to beat the shit out of it to get the goods out of it.
Yeah, or just for no reason.
Or yeah, just
to be an asshole. And in Japan, they just don't do that. So domestic terrorism, like people getting gas attacked and murdered on the subway, it really shook things up, because like nobody felt like that in Japan. Nobody ever had to question if they were safe, and then they did. So that's the working theory right now, is that right around that time is when this genre was born, because people had an extra desire for things to just be calm. And yeah, it's just been building ever since. And it's relatively popular now in Japan. But outside of Japan, this is weird shit. Like, no, it's so counterintuitive to our way of even thinking. It's like, why would you make a show where nothing happens? Unless it's Seinfeld, where the joke is nothing happens, but actually a bunch of stuff happens. This one, I mean, we'll see. Maybe I'm overselling it, because stuff happens, kind of. But I guess we'll just watch it. And yeah, this is just the first episode. So eventually this show builds up with a bunch of other characters, but this is really simple, because this is the first one. So there's only a couple of people even in it. But here we go. So episode 1, season 1 of Yuru Camp. And setting the scene for the camping friends. So yeah, there you go. That's the episode where I guess if I had to say if anything happened, I guess it was just that the girl who wanted to see the view of Mount Fuji, because it's on the $10 bill, she did get to see.
She got to see it.
So, but yeah, I'd say that's pretty representative. Like,
I thought it was really interesting. It makes me want to go camping.
I love too how it's just like weird how once you set expectations, like you set that this is the tone, right? Like it's just going to be this calm thing. But then when the older sister comes to pick up the younger sister and kicks her in the car and is like, "Get in the car, you dumb pig," it just seems like such a mean thing to say because the rest of the show is so nice.
So calming. Yeah. While I was watching it, I was thinking about the nights that we used to spend out at our camp.
Right.
With no power on, just make up a fire, and we had a radio going and drink some beer, and then we'd go to bed.
Yeah, it really does. Just yeah, it's just nice, right?
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's become this big phenomenon in Japan. Like people buy the clothes that these girls wear and stuff. It's weird too. It's all girls. There's almost no guys in this show, and I don't know what that's about. Just whatever, I guess. just a thing. But yeah, I was just surprised how much I liked it because it's hard. It's a hard show to pitch. Just today on my way here, I was saying to my cousin, I'm like, yeah, gonna make my mom watch some anime today. So he's like, oh, okay. So what is it? And I briefly described, like, it's this camping show. And he's like, wow, that sounds bad. Because if you're a normal, like, people in a giant mech suit fighting each other, Voltron, Transformers bullshit, yeah, this sounds terrible. But I love this. I love this show. It's fucking great. And there's, like, other shows like this. Like, there's a show called Non Non Biori about this girl who, she's from Tokyo, but she moves to the way outskirts of Japan, and it's just her and her, like one of those single room schools. Everybody in the whole town fits in one class, so it's just them hanging out doing nothing. But it's funny because these girls who live in the boondocks, they think they don't, they're like, all right, so we get like one bus every 2 hours, but how often could the bus come in Tokyo? Every hour? Probably. It's probably not that different. And the girl from Tokyo is just like, yeah, no, sure. And like they only have one store in the whole place, and you got to travel for ages to get to the store that sells some candy. It's not about anything. It's just pleasant. It's just nice. So yeah, this is becoming a whole little industry of stuff.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it immensely, and I learned how I better start collecting some pine cones if I'm ever going to be making a fire.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier than using egg cartons, which is what I usually use.
Yeah, it's instructional. And yeah, the only thing that is a little silly is like some of those characters they showed at the end when they get to school. Like there's a whole camping club. So obviously the pink-haired girl's all into camping all of a sudden, so she joins the camping club. But the main character, the long-haired girl with the bun, she's a loner. She doesn't join the camping club for a while. But eventually, the point I'm at now, it's almost getting silly where there's like 7 of these girls who never talk about anything except camping. They all get part-time jobs so they can save up to buy Coleman lanterns and fucking winter appropriate sleeping bags. And it's like, it is a little weird that they only care about camping. But still, it's a really cool show. So initially, I was just going to show you that as just like, here it is. Here's just a little thing. But then I was looking into it a little and researching a bit. I found something that's kind of weird where it's all based on real places. Everywhere that they go camp is a real campground. Because I was reading about how people have made these little pilgrimages in Japan. Like, I want to go to the campsite that the Yuru Camp girls went to. And then I found out that since all these locations are real, they were like, why don't we just make an actual show of this? A live-action Yuru Camp show. I didn't even know this existed. And the reason I didn't know is because Japanese cartoons are like the best in the world. Like they've been the best since the 80s at least. They actually care about animation, and this is like a thing they put on TV. Whereas Japanese live action TV is some of the worst in the world. I don't know why. It just sucks. It's like low quality cameras, not stylish at all, just flat, just here it is, let's just shoot it. It just looks bad. And that's coming from Canadian. Like, our shows have no money, but we try, Where in Japan, it feels like they don't even try. Like, their TV is just shit. I don't know how else to say it. Which is weird because South Korean TV and movies is amazing. It's almost as good as America. But Japan, for whatever reason, they don't care about this. But I went and dug up an episode just because I thought it's interesting to see the real place. Like, now if we watch the real show, they go to that actual campsite, and there's the tunnel, and there's the toilets, and it's like, oh, cool. It's just like the cartoon, but it's real. Except this really is boring because it's not a cool cartoon. It's just a bad TV show. But I thought just to tie it off, just to see both sides, it's kind of neat to compare. So I found that too. All
right, well, let's check it out because the cartoon version was excellent.
Yeah, the cartoon is great. And this show, another thing that's weird is part of, I think, why anime adaptations, live action adaptations aren't that good is because anime characters don't act like people. So that's a problem here too, but it's very cut down the middle, where the pink-haired girl in the disco, she's an anime character. She does not act like a human being. She's a weirdo. She's all like crying and stupid and just, whatever. So seeing someone try to be her is very awkward. Whereas the other girl, Rin, with the bun, is pretty normal. So that's not so hard. But I think that's why live action anime shows, they got a lot going against them. They have the bad quality of Japanese TV and the fact that anime characters are weirdos who don't act like people. But at least in this one of the characters does act like a person, so that helps a lot. All right, so Yuru Camp live action, season 1, episode 1. But they do this all the time. They make live action ones and they make movies. And personally, I prefer the cartoons. Oh yeah, that's something too people have pointed out a lot about Japan, is that people who take photographs of Japan, they usually go to great pains to not show the power lines, but in reality there's power lines everywhere. It's really hard to get a shot of nature that doesn't involve power lines. So in the live action version, they can't help but show that that's the truth. I was just thinking how it's weird that these are like the heroes of the show, the main characters. But like then when you see them as real people, it's like, man, the people from the camping club would be the biggest nerds in school. Like they would not be remotely cool, but because this show is about them, here's where they get to be cool. It's like it's like if they did a show about band or something,
Yeah, but it's kind of a cute little thing.
Yeah, so I thought it was neat to see this live action one, to see the real place, and here's the real view of Fuji and stuff. But something about it, it's weird. It just, as a live action thing, it feels a lot different to me. Like this, I probably wouldn't watch, whereas the anime I would. It's weird too, I wonder, it's weird, like why bother? You've already got the cartoon, why make the live action one?
Yeah.
And it's like maybe anime in Japan is not as popular as I think it is. Like maybe there are people in Japan that will not watch a cartoon, but they'll watch a real show. I mean, it must be, right? Why else would they do that?
And maybe kids watching this, their parents wouldn't let them watch the anime version. But they'd be more than pleased a bunch of nerdy girls getting together and going out camping.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess it's just one of those things where you realize I don't actually know how things work over there or whatever. But yeah, it is weird too, because I guess it just feels a little more unnatural. Like obviously the anime is based off the comic, but comics and anime are very similar. So, it's got its own tone and it's got everything set up, where when it's live action, it's just a bunch of real people trying to recreate the feeling of a cartoon. It never works. Like never once ever has a live action cartoon adaptation really worked. So this is no different. It's fine. It's like whatever.
It's almost like you shouldn't compare the two, but I know that one is based on the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to when they're identical.
Yeah.
It's like it really is exactly the same, which I think is almost maybe the problem. It's like when you get a bunch of actors to try to be anime characters.
But as I was watching it, I kept thinking, what if I had seen the live action one first instead of the anime one? The anime one is obviously much, much better.
Right.
Concise. The animation work in it is fabulous. I mean, like the scenery that they create is fabulous. But I kept thinking, what would I think of this live action one if I had seen it first?
Yeah, and I guess it comes down to personal taste. Like, I guess obviously I grew up watching cartoons. I got no problem with watching cartoons, but I guess, if a person is more inclined to live action, maybe they wouldn't like the cartoon. But it's something I noticed this time too. I mentioned while we were watching it. The cartoon has way more of that Iyashike vibe I was talking about, that like the reason we're here is to look at a squirrel and to look at a leaf and to look at, where the live action show didn't really do that. And the things that didn't feel boring in the cartoon, like where it hit me in the live action one, is they boil the water to put on their Mr. Noodles, and they sit there and watch her pour the water into both the Mr. Noodles. And I mean, this is all splitting hairs. Like, why is one thing not boring and one thing is? But I was like, that's such a waste of 30 seconds to just watch them pour water. Because the anime didn't show that. The anime spent its downtime
And
showing
if they wanted to
nature.
give the impression that the girl in the anime one with the pink hair was really a very strange girl, the anime version comes off much better.
Yeah.
Because of her hair color, she's able to have facial expressions that, of course, are created by an animation person. Whereas in the live action one, that girl didn't seem all that strange to me.
Yeah. Which is probably for the best, I guess, because if you push it too far, yeah, then it just comes off bizarre. Yeah, there's kind of no good way around it. It's just a weird oddity. But yeah, they do that a lot. They make these live action versions and no one ever seems happy about it. But anyway, the cartoon, yeah, is definitely my thing. And then once I get through the cartoon, I'm probably going to go back and read the comic because the comic goes even further than it's been coming out for years.
Now, as I said, the anime version made me want to go out and camp in the wintertime, not in the winter, but in the autumn.
Right.
The live action one, I found it interesting. It was okay. I mean, I might watch that again, watch these girls going out in their camping thing, but it didn't give me that same yearning to say, you know what, yeah, I think I'd like to go out to the wilderness a bit or out to my camp and build a fire where there's nobody around and there's just me.
Yeah, and I guess that's what's good about animation is you can kind of idealize the situation because even though it is a real place and like those are the same places, but it just somehow feels a little different in the cartoon. It just everything is perfect.
and the characters in the animation are more like the universal person. It's not you're watching young girls, but it's not. That could be anybody. It could be old men. It could be old women. It could be young kids. Could be anybody doing what they were doing. But the live action one, because they are real people, I mean, you obviously, that's what you see, and that's what you experience. Whereas in the anime one, they're more symbolic of the universal man, the universal woman who might go and do that stuff.
It's neat, too, where I just find, like, the small trials and tribulations feel a lot more real to me. Like if you watch some show where it's like, oh my god, if I don't pilot the robot, I'm not going to save the earth, like I don't give a fuck. You're going to save the earth. Like why? It's a foregone conclusion. Why are we even watching this? Where little stuff like I was thinking how there's an episode later where the main girl Rin with the bun in her hair, she has like a scooter, like a little moped, so she can go even further. So she goes solo camping way far away, like in a different prefecture, and she's driving along and it's getting dark and the road she was going to take has like a construction or a rock slide warning or something that's like, don't take this road. But then she checks her Google Maps and it's going to take like 2 more hours if she goes around, and just that little problem. And I think she ends up meeting a local or something and the local's like, don't worry, it's all right. But like a little thing like that is so relatable. Because we've all been in situations like that where you're kind of traveling somewhere, you're off somewhere, you took a wrong turn, or the plan isn't working, and you've got to reconfigure the plan. And like that's so low stakes compared to normal anime where it's like the sun's gonna explode. But I was into it. I'm like, oh shit, the road has a sign that says don't go down the road. What's she gonna do? And I just love like taking the stakes down, just take it all the way down, and it just makes these little things actually feel like something. Because like that's the dead husk that I am. Like, yeah, I'll watch these big action shows and I just feel nothing.
Because you can't relate to them.
Yeah.
But this was very relatable. Everybody could. That's what I'm saying. Those anime characters are like the universal man, woman, child, whatever. Because if you ever have traveled anywhere and you're on your own, yes, you have been faced with those anxieties and going places where you probably shouldn't have gone, making the wrong turn. And what is at the end of the road? Should I carry on? Should I go back? It's very relatable to anybody who, you don't even have to be out in the woods.
Yeah, I always think
you could be in an urban center and the same thing happened and you get lost.
Yeah, because I don't have a license, so I never am doing like driving stuff. But I always think of this one night in Brooklyn where I was drunk and I was at some bar with people, and then they all went one way and I went the other way because I lived in Queens. and I got so fucking lost. And it's the middle of the night, not the middle, but it's getting late. It's dark out. And luckily, I was walking the right way that I bumped into the above ground subway line. But for like a good 40 minutes, I'm like, I could literally be going the wrong way. And then what am I going to do? And like, yeah, just that feeling of you're just adrift. And then when you realize everything worked out, it's like, whew, you know, and just stuff like that is, yeah, way more important feeling than, yeah.
Now, there was one thing I noticed in the live action version of that too, and it may have been a mistake, but in the anime version, she goes to that beach and she is completely alone.
Oh, here there was a tent in the back?
There's like a house or a building or something in the back. There's a travel van or something off to the right.
Right.
And there seemed to be some other little vehicle. Now maybe that was the filming crew or something. I don't know what. But there was definitely a vehicle. There were no people there, but there was another vehicle off to the side. And I said, gee, like, okay, so she's not alone, or that seems kind of odd that those things would be parked there.
Yeah, I think that's probably more a function of it being the real place, because I think that's how, like, the anime sort of tries to justify that they have any privacy is winter, because they do a lot of winter camping in that show, just to explain why there's not people there, because I think the reality in Japan is there's always people there. Everything is crowded. There's just a lot of fucking people. So I have a feeling like the film crew probably tried to get that beach to themselves, and that's probably the best they could do. There were probably other people there that were like, I'm not leaving. You can you can film around me.
But the anime version gave the definite impression of alone.
Right.
That she was completely alone. The live action version couldn't spend the time, I guess,
Yeah. Well,
on creating that solitude.
I have a feeling that's probably part of the appeal of that show, as far as a calming show, like the show you watch to unwind at the end of the day, is the even just the fantasy that you could go to, because it's not like that campsite was even obscure. It's on a main road. You just go down the road a little. Of course, there's people there. There's always people there. Like, I always think of Tokyo in particular is so insane that, I always stayed away from rush hour, obviously, when I was there. But there was a time where I had to go to the embassy because I lost my passport. So I had to get there in the morning. And it was fucking bananas. The lineups to get onto the subway went all the way to the turnstile, through the turnstile, and down the hall. Like, something like you've never seen in North America. An unbelievable amount of people. So I was like, all right, I'm close enough to the embassy. I'm going to make it at this point. All I could do to get away from the crush is I went into one of the washrooms and I just sat in a stall, not even using it, just sitting on the toilet with my pants up. For 40 minutes, I just sat in there on my phone doing stuff. There was other stalls, so, it's not like I was taking the only bathroom. Just waiting for it to clear out enough that it was merely crowded and not psycho-crowded. And that's every day. Every fucking day it's like that. So yeah, I bet there's not a campsite in all of Japan where you can even be by yourself. So that's probably part of it, is you watch this show and you're like, wouldn't that be nice if no one else was at the campsite? But anyway, yeah, so that's a thing. That's a phenomenon. The Yashike show, the let's just chill out show.
Well, I like them. I liked both of them, but the anime version especially.
Right.
But even the live action one, yeah, I mean, but to me it was more like the anime one is something I would think that would be for anybody to watch, whereas the live action one is more like a teen girl show.
Yeah, totally, yeah. I was thinking too, just as far as that thing we were saying about small things being relatable, it's also kind of neat where as they meet people in the camping club and they get their little group of, like in the intro they showed those other girls, when they realize how expensive it is to buy gear for winter camping and they really have no option, like you got to buy the right stuff or you'll die. And then they all have to find jobs. And again, it's like, I guess it's like, that's what's so impressive about these things is how they walk the line of like, if you just tell somebody, yeah, it's a show about a bunch of girls who have to find jobs, then go to their jobs, then save their money to buy an insulated sleeping bag. Man, that couldn't be more boring. But it's not. It's awesome. It's like, she found a job. Awesome. Such a weird thing. So, like, that's what I like about there's obviously good and bad things about every culture, but that's what's so neat about a place as different as Japan is that you could give North America 1,000 years and we wouldn't make that show. It just wouldn't even cross our minds. So it's neat to see other people do stuff like this.
Well, and to have girls, in our culture, to have girls go off into the wilderness camping alone.
Yeah, at the very least it would be guys, right?
Oh my God, guys, yes. But girls?
And it would be about, let's go drink beer out by the campsite and talk about getting late.
Yeah. But if it was girls, there'd be all this fear and threat and, that some psycho might come after them or some sex maniac might follow them to the campground and have their way with them. I mean, we just wouldn't stop. We just wouldn't have, a bunch of girls go together. They don't have adult supervision. And they go out and they camp and they relate to one another. That would be unheard of in North America.
That's an interesting point. Is also, if there's one thing I don't like about that show, it's that the main girl with the bun, Rin, I like her a lot because she's cool. She's a cool customer. Every other character is like the pink-haired girl in the disco. They're all over the top. They're all silly. And I was like, this is a little weird. What's going on here? So I looked it up, and that's called moe. And it's another thing that is just like Japan has cornered the market on, that just means cute girls, or cute people, but girls specifically. And that's a genre there, is like, not only are you watching the show about the cool, calming stuff, there's also shows that are just about, I want to watch cute girls do stuff, but it might be cute girls piloting a mech, cute girls doing whatever. And that part is like a little cloying. After a while, it's like, I wish everybody would calm down a little. But the good thing about it is it draws this line in the sand where weird perverted stuff does not happen. Because Japan is any other cartoon. Eventually, if you have a show that's all about girls, you're going to see their panties, you're going to see their bras. They just throw that shit in because it's a patriarchal society and that's what they want to see. And the nice thing about these moe shows is it's the only place where they don't do that. Because I really find it off-putting. Like, if I'm going to watch porn, I'll just watch porn. I don't need these weird, like the panty shot is famous from Japan.
I agree 100%.
And it's so weird. Like Maison Ikoku, that's like one of my favorite things ever from the 80s, where the guy who falls in love with his apartment manager. And I love that. But I've been going back to watch it, and it's amazing how often that girl just is like, whoops, my top's not on. And it's because it's for a boy audience. And it's just like, do you have to? Does everything have to do that? And in Japan, yes, everything has to do that, except these moe shows about cute girls. So I'll take it. Like, even if the girls are a little annoying, at least it keeps it in this side genre that's not like embarrassing, Because that's one of those things about Japanese society, like, they just think that's normal. But if you take that outside of Japan, it's like, why am I seeing everyone's tits all the time? Can't we just take a break on that?
We're not that far removed, though. Most things that you watch always have to have some little... You may not see all the panties, and you may not see all the bras, but there's always that sex thing in there, right, about people just aren't people. There's a definite division line between feminine and male.
Right. So that's, I guess, what I kind of like about... I don't know, something about, I guess, because Japanese society is so regimented... that they regiment even this. It's like, hey, if you're going to watch the calm show about cute girls, that's what it's going to be, goddammit. And yeah, sometimes that's good. That's what you want. Because yeah, it's like, I never noticed it until shows like this. And it made me recontextualize other Japanese cartoons that I've been watching since, whenever, for my whole life. That it's like, yeah, they'll just like, if a girl has to change a light bulb, let's get the camera right down here and look up her skirt. And it's like, porn exists. This doesn't need to be here. So yeah, this show, that's another bonus. It's a double bonus that doesn't do that. So good on you, Yuru Camp. Thumbs up.
Well, there, our first show for 2022.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm glad that went well, because like I said, I'm like, I don't know. You might really think this sucks.
I thought it was great. I loved it.
Good. Well,
I loved it. I didn't find either show slow or draggy.
Right.
I mean, you had mentioned that maybe the live action one would be really boring, but I didn't find it boring.
Yeah, I guess it's like if it was all that existed, maybe I would watch it. But I guess just when you've got the two options and they're both the same
Yeah, if I was
stuff.
going to choose, I would choose the anime version.
Right.
It was superior, but both of them were very
It really is cool
relaxing.
though. And isn't it cool to see, like in the anime, you're like, hey, the beautiful shot of Mount Fuji. You could easily make that up. But then you see it and, oh, they didn't make it up. There it is. Cool.
There it is.
You
Yeah.
could go there.
And you know what? That was like an autumn moon that they showed in the live show. When you saw that moon shining on the mountain, that was like a harvest moon that we would have here in October or September, which I don't know if that was later. I mean, they've got very cold breath, so it's probably like November or December. But yeah, well, that could be the solstice moon, too.
I wonder too, I was thinking that during the live action one, that was probably one of the toughest parts about filming is to get a clear shot of Mount Fuji. Because that guy, Chris Broad, who does the videos about Japan, he doesn't live near Tokyo, he lives up north. But he made a whole 4-part series about finally getting to see Mount Fuji. Because for the like 7 years he's lived in Japan, it's always been overcast every fucking time he goes there. Like it's relatively rare to get that view, which is why that's the focal point. But yeah, that's one thing that's impressive about the live action one is they got it.
Yeah, they got it. They got it. It was beautiful.
Yeah.